After months of leaks, delays, and fans begging for even a single crumb of information, Playboi Carti finally released his highly anticipated album, I Am Music. This album literally came out of nowhere, but the news of its release reverberated throughout the hip-hop space within hours. But let's be real, no disrespect to Carti, but we all know why this album is going crazy. And in case you don't know, it's because of Kendrick Lamar. Anyone who claims they saw this collaboration coming is capping out of their teeth. No one ever imagined K-Dot and Carti working together, at least not like this. Getting the GOAT to jump on one song on any album is almost impossible, but Carti got 3 full features. 3! But that's not all Carti pulled off. These 3 tracks feature different sounds infused with 3 levels of lyrical murder. But do you know what's crazy? K-Dot didn't just show up and ball out on this track. He pulled off the most unexpected, most disrespectful, and most calculated move we've ever seen in this entire Drake vs. Kendrick saga. Not only did he showcase his immense superpower as a lyricist, he also gave us an insight into his incomparable versatility as a rapper. Kenny has undoubtedly cemented himself as the most valuable feature any artist could secure right now. He is that guy. And at this point, Drake isn't just losing. He's done. Like, how do you even come back from this? Drake's been in damage control mode for months, doing everything he can to force Triple S for You into a hit album. He's dropped random videos, flooded Instagram, and even got his human-like AI clones, academics, to start peddling negative comments about Kendrick, but it's just not working. And now, Kendrick just did what he does best. He waited, studied, strategized, and then delivered a masterclass in dominance. Just when Drake thought he'd start climbing the charts with his song Nokia, Kendrick decided it was time to throw a wrench to that progress, and what better way to do it than to occupy every spot on the chart Drake is hoping to get to. At this point, it looks like K-Dot isn't taking his legs off this man's neck anytime soon. It's so clear that this wasn't just a feature. This was a chess move, a statement, and possibly the final nail in Drake's career. There's so much to unpack in these super heavy bombs by Playboi and Kendrick, but before we break it all down, it would be awesome if you could subscribe to our channel. Now with that said, let's slide into these tracks like Drake allegedly does to a girl that's 17 years old. Now, the first thing you got to know is that this wasn't just Kendrick flexing on a feature, and this wasn't just some random collab that happened to shake things up. This was strategy, a chess move, a lesson in patience and execution. Let's break it down. You know, we could argue that Kendrick and Carti are from 2 very different sides of a coin when it comes to hip-hop and what they represent. This is exactly why this feature was always destined to be a win-win for both, and they both knew it. For Carti, getting the biggest name in rap music to hop on 3 songs from his album was all the hype he could ever need to crash the charts and make some serious sales. And for Kendrick, well, he simply gets to expand his reach far and wide. Before we get to the 3 new tracks on this unique album, we've got to talk about how intentional and calculated these moves are by Kendrick. Exactly 1 month after Drake dropped Triple S for You, a project that was already struggling to keep people's attention, Kendrick decided to strike. I mean, let's be real, the album was already struggling to compete with the pressure and hype from his Super Bowl performance, but that wasn't enough for Kendrick. You could argue that these tracks are just a coincidence, but then that would mean you don't know K-Dot. Coincidence doesn't exist in this man's dictionary. But you know what's crazy? Drake has been doing everything in his power to make Nokia pop off. I mean, everything. After blaming the Spotify algorithm for his woes, he realized he was just wasting his time, so he took matters into his own hands. From remixes, Instagram snippets, captions, TikTok trends, and streamer cosigns, Drizzy did it all. He wanted Nokia to become a massive hit. In fact, you could say he needed it to be a massive hit. And what does Kendrick do? He waits. He lets Drake struggle, lets the hype around Triple S for You start to fizzle out, and lets the desperation start to show. Then, boom. 3 back-to-back Kendrick Lamar tracks. Not 1, not 2, but 3 new records dropping right when Drake was hoping to make his little comeback. And here's the thing. Kendrick didn't just drop music. He dropped chart killers. The kind of songs that will knock Nokia out of the park and away from the charts. But you know what's even more savage? It's the dynamic of the songs. The first track, Backdoor, is a melodic banger that sounds smoother than anything on Drake's album. Then there's the second one, titled Good Credit, a dark, menacing track that taps into the kind of raw energy Drake will never have. And finally, the third track, Mojo Jojo. This one is kind of a laid-back, atmospheric record that effortlessly blends into Carti's aesthetic. Just one listen to these songs, and you'll know there's nothing that's going to stop it from racing up the charts. And you know what that means? For every spot Kendrick takes, that's one less for Drake. Now you see that this isn't just a win. This is Kendrick completely shutting the door on any chance of a Drake comeback. Whether you agree or not, Drake isn't really competing for the top anymore. Right now, he's competing just to stay relevant, and even at that, he's still losing. Now let's get to the tracks, starting with Backdoor. A lot of people, including myself, would have sworn that this track was another rap feature at first glance, but boy, how wrong we all were. There are parts of this song that allude to rap, but it's clear that Kenny was stepping into Drake's favorite territory with this track. You know, the R&B melodic rap, smooth production that he's been using for over a decade to rack up easy wins and billion streams. Yeah, exactly. K-Dot wanted to prove a point to his ops, and what better way to do that than to use the exact formula he thought only he could pull off. And here's the catch, Kendrick does it better. Drake's diehard fans might dispute this fact, but if you are a true hip-hop fan and a fan of smooth melodic rap, you know what I'm talking about when I say K-Dot does this much better. From the production to the vocals, this track effortlessly blends rap, R&B, and pop in a way that feels so natural, so seamless, that it instantly exposes just how forced and generic Drake's recent attempts have been. If you love the Luther track with SZA, you definitely rock to this song 100%. You ever listen to some of Drake's R&B tracks and feel like he's just running through the motions? Like he's trying so hard to sound emotional, but it always comes off a little manufactured? Well, Kendrick doesn't have that problem. He slides on this track with ease, delivering the kind of laid-back yet hypnotic performance that Drake wishes he could pull off on Triple S for You. Now, this is where things get real spicy. If you want to talk about being petty and making sophisticated, calculated moves, Kendrick has to be the first name that comes to mind. He's the GOAT when it comes to haunting his ops. Do you know this album dropping on March 14th wasn't some random date? No, it really isn't. Remember Drake had a song on his Scorpion album titled March 14th? You know, the song where he started telling us stories to defend himself after Pusha T cooked him on his own track Story of Adidon about his refusal to admit he had a secret son because he was so ashamed? With that information, I now pass it over to you. Do you think dropping the song on such a date is a coincidence? Man, unless Kendrick comes out and says that it was, no way anyone would believe that that was a coincidence. This is psychological warfare, one Drake could never win. Kenny is really toying with his head, and it's on a different level. And let's be real, Drake is already fragile. This is a guy who loses sleep over Instagram comments, a guy who gets pressed over subliminals on random underground rap songs. Now, imagine what's going through his head with this latest move by K-Dot. This Backdoor track is not just a song, it's a message. Now this is where things get dark. If Backdoor was Kendrick humiliating Drake with finesse, then Good Credit is him stepping into full villain mode. No mercy, no restraint. From the second the beat drops, you can feel it. You just can't miss the energy that these two powerhouses are tapping into something sinister. Kendrick even calls Carti his evil twin, which tells you everything you need to know. This is the I know something you don't energy. And while the sound of this track is dark, menacing, and hypnotic, the real bloodshed comes through in the lyrics. Because this is where Kendrick fires some of the most surgical shots we've seen in the entire Drake beef. In fact, we could argue that this is the best collab of the three tracks, but that depends on personal preferences. Now let's break it down. There's a particular bar on this track that caught my eye straight up because it showed just how updated Kendrick is with the happenings in hip-hop. The GOAT rapped, "I would have said F you too, but you knew what the list was for." While I'm not 100% sure what Kendrick seems to be referencing here, but it seems like Drake's infamous beef list. You know, the one he and 50 Cent allegedly keep, tracking every rapper, journalist, and influencer that's ever slighted them. It would be pretty weird if that list actually exists. This is real life, not a mob movie where you keep lists of your ops. This is rap. Now you can see that even though we don't see him on socials, the king of hip hop is tapped in on everything going on. In this same track, K-Dot also flexed his iconic Super Bowl performance when he rapped, "Having it my way like Usher dog, red blue diamond like Gusher dog." He's probably referencing Usher's recent halftime show performance and how they both did it their way on their terms. To me, this Good Credit track is a 10 out of 10 for real. There are so many great bars on it, like where he referenced Lakers' new golden boy Luka Doncic. But the biggest bar on this track has to be where Kendrick rapped. Conspiracy theories are given, but I must admit you got the wrong person. There's no doubt this is a direct address of Drake's ridiculous lawsuit over Not Like Us, but you've got to love how simply Kendrick touched on the topic. No long-winded responses, no explanation, no Instagram post, just one dismissive sentence. And that's all it takes, because Kendrick doesn't need to entertain Drake's legal antics. He doesn't need to write an essay defending himself. He just lets the music and his success speak for him. Kendrick's focus is pretty clear. He wants to have the greatest peak form hip-hop has ever seen, and while doing that, he wants to take the culture to a whole new level. Kendrick isn't playing fair anymore, he's playing to end the game. If Good Credit was Kendrick's power move, then Mojo Jojo, his third feature on this album, is his final lesson on how to move in hip-hop. This track is a masterclass in collaboration, and it exposes one of the biggest differences between Kendrick Lamar and Drake. For years, Drake has built his brand on hopping onto hot artist songs and making it all about himself. Look at the Migos, he jumped on Versace, ran with the flow, and never looked back. Look at Blockboy JB, he gave him a Look Alive feature, but let's be real, nobody remembers it as a Blockboy JB song. Look at Smiley, Majid Jordan, I Love Mackinnon, and a dozen others. Where are they now? Drake's feature game isn't about collaboration, it's about him taking it over. He shows up, absorbs the hype, and when the song starts fading from the charts, he's gone. We can always dispute this assertion in the comments, especially with Drake's diehard fans, but y'all know it ain't nothing but the truth. But you see, Kendrick, he understands the art of true collaboration, and Mojo Jojo proves it perfectly. Instead of trying to outshine Carti, Kendrick does something Drake never does. He plays the background. His presence is subtle but powerful. Ad-libs, layered vocals, and just the right amount of input to make the song feel bigger without hijacking it. And this is why Kendrick's collaborations feel timeless. This Mojo Jojo track is definitely one you could never get over once you're hooked. Kenny doesn't just show up for a verse and leave, he enhances the track's vision. With Mojo Jojo, you can tell this is a Playboi Carti record. Kendrick is there to add the atmosphere, not take away from it. Imagine if it was Drake featured on this track. You know for sure there's no way he's running ad-libs when he could take over the whole thing and claim all the glory. Now, don't get me wrong, nobody is saying Drake doesn't collaborate a lot. In fact, he's helped many artists get mainstream attention. But you should also know that it's never just about helping the up-and-coming artist. He does it for his own benefit. He hops on the track and disappears right after it's done cooking. No one loves doing the weird fake bestie act more than Drizzy Drake. Literally no one. He's awesome at stealing all the attention. Drake's collabs never feel like they're for the artist he's working with. They feel like a business move, a way to keep himself tied to younger talent so he doesn't look outdated. This is arguable though, but the looking outdated part is a pretty solid argument. The Triple S album is pretty solid proof. People see through the BS now. They're tired of the same old sound, and the crazy thing is, while Drake refuses to evolve, Kendrick is doing the opposite. He's not here to ride the wave, he's here to help shape it. And Mojo Jojo? Well, it's proof that Kendrick understands hip-hop in a way Drake never will. This isn't about clout, it's about legacy. But back to you, hip-hop fans. What do you think about these 3 new tracks on this Carti album? Which one is your favorite at the moment? Let me know in the comment section below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay locked in for more deep dives into hip-hop's biggest moments.